Learn about how to create a form into a page. Now, working with forms comes with different elements. I'll try to explain what each element does, and then I'll show you guys how to add the form into a page. Now, to start off, I have this blank page. The first thing you want to do is go to OU Campus, log in. Give it a second here. Once you're logged in, you're going to want to click Pages. This brings you to the page where the page resides or lives. Next thing you do is click Content and then Assets. And on the right side, you'll see a new button. When you click that, you click Form. This brings you to a new form, blank form page. The first thing you see is Asset Info. This is where you name your form. And you want to give it some kind of a unique name so that you can refer to it later on. For test purposes, I will name this test form. And give it some kind of description so other people who edit the form will be able to know what this form is. This is a test form. And you can assign it tags if you'd like, but let's just skip that into the next section. Access settings are settings to allow certain people to access the form or edit the form. We'll skip right over to the elements. Elements section is where you actually add the elements. So you have different options here. The first one is single line text field. It looks like this. It's pretty much self-explanatory. It's just a single line of input. Multi-line is anything more than one, which could be a message, questions, comments. It looks like this. Radio buttons, pretty self-explanatory. One selection for each section. Checkboxes, they look like this. And drop downs, and then we have multi-line selection, which gives the user the ability to select multi selections by holding Alt or Command down. And then the next one is date time picker, which is also self-explanatory. You just get to pick a date for whatever reason. And the last one is instructional text, pretty much guiding the user what to do. We'll start off with that. So what you want to do is just hold and drag it right into the element section. And this is where you put in the text that explains or tells the user what to do. For this example, I'll just say fill out this form please and hit submit. Now you'll notice a section it's called name. This is very important to remember that later on when you want to retrieve the user's information, you're going to need to remember the names of each element. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So once you're done with this instructional text, you want to add a single line field right below it. And you just drag it. It's giving me a little problem here. You can also click the plus sign, either one. So here's a single line text field. You'll notice something called label. Label is the actual text that shows up on the page. So in this example, it says name and then the field. This part is what the label is. So you want to just put in a description of what the field is. So I'm going to put name. And underneath here, underneath the label, you'll notice a section called name. This is the part that I was talking about earlier. It's very important to remember. Don't go too crazy about the names. Don't give it some crazy long, description. Just keep it simple so that later on you can refer to it and retrieve the information. Helper text is pretty much just a description that helps the user understand the field. In this example, I said select gender and explains that section. Default text is if you wanted a text to show up in the actual input field. So as you see here, it says enter name here. If I put that here, it would show up on an input field. You could choose to have the field to be required or not. If it is required, you get to choose what kind of validation it is, if it's an email, minimum length, regular expression. For this example, or for this text field, there is no requirement. I'm just going to keep it default. Now the next thing I want to add is a actually, you know what? I'm going to add a radio button. A radio button, I'm going to label it, let's follow this example, gender. And automatic name for gender, helper text, select gender. Now you notice a section called items. This is where you add the different radio buttons. So I have male and female in my example, so I'll click add and I'll put male and another female. And again, I can choose to have this required or not, but we'll keep moving forward. Checkboxes. And in my example, I have, are you a student? So we'll follow that example and we'll add that label student. Are you a student? You know, we'll add one more. You see how automatically gives you the same exact name as the label. It's too long, so we'll just keep this student. Helper text, student or faculty. And for items, we'll add, instead of one, we'll add two. Are you a student or faculty? And we'll keep moving forward. Drop downs. Now in drop downs, I have age groups. You know, we'll keep it pretty simple here. Type in age for label, keep age for name, that works. And we'll just put 18 to 25, 26 to 30, and 31 to 40, just as an example. And you get to see a little preview here of what it looks like. The next thing you have is multi-select. And for my example, I had interests, and let's just put a couple interests in. Music, art, cooking, reading. And you also get to see a little preview here. And the next one is date time picker. Just drag it right below. Again, label it birthday. And this could be anything. It could be a due date, deadline. But for this case, I'll use the birthday. And for format, you can have date, time, date only, time only. But for our example, we'll have date and time. Actually, just date. Date works because it's just the birthday we need, not the time. And that's that. It's pretty simple to create. The last one that I skipped over earlier was the multi-line text field, because usually you want the message of the form to be towards the end of the form. So we'll label that message, and helper text, enter a message. Default text, we'll just, for example, we'll put enter message here, and we'll make that required. And minimum length, we'll put at least 50 characters. Failure message, you did not enter 50 characters. So now we have a pretty simple form created using all the elements. from top to bottom, and you can rearrange the elements by just dragging them above each other or above another element. But for this case, we'll leave it just the way it is. The next thing you want to do is in the next section you see it says email messages. If you click add, it will say to, from, subject, and body. Now to means where should the form send the input values to. So for my example, I'll put in web services at ccri.edu, and from we usually put do not reply at ccri, and for subject test form or whatever your form is called. Now for the body section, this is where you want to choose how you want to retrieve the inputted values. So if you go back onto each element and just remember the name for each element. So we have gender, we have name, we have student, age, interests, birthday, message. Now to retrieve the information and have it sent to webservices.ccri.edu, you're going to want to use double curly braces for each element name. So let's say we want the email message to say the name of the inputted field. We put in name, curly braces, and then name. And as you type, it will pop down a list or drop down a list of elements available to pick from. So you don't necessarily have to remember them. They just show up in a list. You click name and it closes down for you automatically. You hit enter, you put in the next down on the list, which was gender, curly braces, gender. And you keep doing that for each element. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Student, age. The next one is interests. Birthday. And the final one is the message. So pretty much what's happening here is you will get an email that says name, and then it will include the inputted value of the text field name, and it will do the same for the rest. Now you could have just clicked include all submitted values and you wouldn't have to do all this, but sometimes you want the information submitted in a certain way. This is why it's important to remember how to do this way. So once you've done that, you want to go down here to form settings and give the user some kind of success message that this form was submitted successfully. So let's just put that this form was submitted successfully. Spelling. And for failure message, in case something goes wrong, you tell the user that it did not work, so try it again. Message did not go through. Please try again. And down here you get to choose if you want the results saved in a database. And then you have an option to change the button text, the actual button to submit the form. By default, it's submit, so you don't have to put anything, but say you wanted to say send message, it would say send message. We'll keep it submit, just leave it blank. And that pretty much sums up how to create, how to use the form, blank form in OU Campus. And once you're done, you click create, and you give it a second here to load. And once it's created, you get an asset ID, number of elements. You kind of just see a template of what you've created. Now, if you go back into assets, I'm sorry, let's just go back 1 second. You want to publish the form first. Okay, so now once you've published it and it says published successfully, you want to go back to assets and search your form. So I named it test form, and this is why it's important to name your form, because there's so many and it could be hard to find them. So test form, right down here, you see a DM tag. You want to copy that tag right there. And once you've copied it, you go back into your blank page. I'm just going to do that 1 second. So here's my blank page. And once you're logged into the page and OU, you click source. And find the section that you want to add the form into. I have a paragraph already set up here, so I just paste in the DM code that I copied earlier, and I click publish, save publish, and that's it. The form should be up and running. Let's see if it is. Yep, it is. Now let's see that on an actual page. I'm just gonna go to CRI, Armin test form, and here it is. It's working. Let's see if it actually works. Name Armin, male, student, and I'm just selecting random stuff here just to see if it works. Message, this is a test message, and if I hit submit, you will notice that I did not enter 50 characters, so it gives me a message of that. So I'm just gonna type some random stuff here until I reach 50, hit submit, and it worked. So this is how you create forms using OU Campus. Hope this helped. If any questions or comments, just send me an email. Thank you.